Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Auburn Energy Committee meeting on Monday, May 23rd. It is now called to order at approximately 5:30 p.m. This meeting is being recorded and broadcasted by local access programming. Is there anyone here in the audience tonight that's recording tonight's meeting? There being none, let's move to the first item of our agenda. The first item is our LED lighting project. Eric, did you have something you wanted to share on that?
We spoke with George Woodbury at our last meeting and got a sense of what he has to offer off the town. And I went and had a discussion with Julie, town manager, regarding our meeting and the desire of the committee to pursue, continue to pursue this project. And she had recently heard of a technical assistance grant that will be provided by the Department of Energy Resources. They're going to release the application at the end of this month, and one of the things the grant will support is a feasibility study for the conversion of LED lights. And basically her suggestion was that we pursue this feasibility study, that we hear from DOER, who would be a, sort of a third-party perspective on the benefits that Auburn would see. And then from there, we can make an informed decision. So that is, I'm awaiting to hear from DOER. And once I get that application, I'll be filling it out to seek that funding. I also did have some conversations with National Grid regarding our lights, because I was aware that Auburn had already owned a certain amount of our street lights, and we were able to confirm that the town currently owns 912 street lights throughout town. So those are lights we obviously wouldn't have to purchase, which I believe would keep our costs lower than what we were estimating. And there are 188 additional lights that are currently owned and maintained by National Grid. So those lights would be the ones we would seek to purchase from National Grid. And according to National Grid, we would need to declare the town's intent to purchase the lights by December 31st of this year, because it would change tariffs. The lights would move to a tariff that would represent the town owning the lights, and that change happens July 1st, 2017. They need a 6-month advance notice.
Okay.
So at this point in time, we're going to seek the technical assistance. Hopefully that will move pretty quickly, and we'll have enough information to be able to make a decision, yay or nay, and make a declaration to National Grid before the end of the year.
And so when you hear back from the DOER, it'll be on the application and then possibly like the time frame. Did Julie have any perspective on, or do you have any insight into just how long the feasibility study goes? So
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, without the application, I'm not sure what that's going to entail.
I think that's great to have the study done, and I think in our advantage that we own already the majority of them, so that really cuts a fair amount of what we anticipated being the cost going down this road. So, great. So we'll keep this on as one that you can just provide us a feedback once you have some more additional information.
Sure.
And one would assume that we could hopefully make the intent to purchase by 12/31. I mean, that still is. I mean, it'll also be here before we know it.
I know.
Right.
It's the nature of time. but yeah, I would hope that we have all the information in place in order to make this decision.
Great. All right. Now, our next item, the solar project on the landfill. I know we had some more information on that as well.
Yes. So I feel, with the last item, with this item, I'm presenting further information that is, showing a longer time frame than we had anticipated. At our last meeting, we put together some questions, and our intent was to invite some developers to this meeting. And I learned pretty quickly afterwards that the town needs to formally put together a request for proposals in order to lease land that's in a value greater than $30,000. So basically, I have put together a time frame that I'd like to share with the group. And this is a timeline. Again, it is in the range of, the remainder of this year. And lists out the tasks that would be necessary in order for us to go ahead and lease this land. So I can walk through that. The first task, we see ZIR from the building inspector. That's a zoning interpretation request, and essentially what that does is show that the use would be consistent with our town's bylaws. And I just got the ZIR back from the building inspector today, and it just showed that a developer would be able to use the land for a solar use, and that they would need to seek permitting through the zoning and planning boards. So we just wanted to have that information available to show developers that the actual project is feasible and consistent with our bylaws. The second task is a meeting with the department heads. I met with department heads last week to request insight on the proposed use, solar at the landfill, and in particular to hear from the Department of Public Works, who has been maintaining the landfill. And there wasn't any opposition from department heads within the town. The DPW is in full support, and we'll be meeting tomorrow to talk also with our consultant, who has been reporting to the DEP on the status of the cap. So we'll get some better ideas tomorrow on that. The next task, which is set for the next month, is to solicit feedback, input, and support from our other town boards and committees. So we will be providing information to the Board of Selectmen, to the Planning Board and the Zoning Board, and Conservation Commission in particular, just to see are the boards going to be, also in favor of this type of project? Are we going to see support from them as well? And just to keep everybody in the loop.
There might be things they bring to the discussion that we hadn't contemplated.
Exactly.
In here.
Yep. Yeah, so there's due diligence on that. Along that line, as a committee, the Energy Committee, the group, the department head group, did ask if the Energy Committee was in favor, and of course I expressed your support, but the committee could vote to send a letter to Julie expressing your support for the effort for the reuse of the landfill for solar. Task 4, compile sample RFPs and pilot agreements and create Auburn drafts. So I have started that work now, and my intent is to use RFPs that other communities have already put together as a template, so that we don't have to recreate the wheel. And then PILOT is an acronym that stands for Payment in Lieu of Taxes. And I believe we may have discussed this at our last meeting. But it would be an agreement that the town would make with the land leaser, or is it leasee? Is that correct?
I think so.
Yes. And so instead of them paying taxes to the town, we would come to a fixed agreement that's an annual payment, and it gives them predictability, the developer predictability, and it allows us some additional revenue. So these documents I've been compiling from other towns. I will be tailoring them to Auburn, and then the next item is that once drafted, our town council will review them for, legal consistency. Survey the landfill is on here, but I did discover that we already have a current survey that the DPW has, so that's going to be removed from the list. That survey will be included in the RFP for potential developers to understand the land that we're offering. Then we'll have to advertise the RFP on the Central Register, and go through the developer selection process. At that point, we'll bring the committee in to speak with the applicants or the developers that submit proposals, and we'll be able to sort of vet their eligibility. What's the word I'm looking for? Basically the questions that we came up with last time. We'll use those, and then we could make a suggestion to the administration on who we feel the best candidate would be, and then administration would make a decision, and a lease and pilot, the final lease and pilot would be reviewed by town council. And hopefully that will be the end of the process,
To tee it up for 2017 at least, so.
Yes. So the lease could go live, and a developer could begin their work in the following year.
Awesome.
So it is a more involved process than I anticipated, but it's good to have a timeline in place. And if there's any questions or comments on the timeline, I certainly would be interested to hear.
So once the final lease and pilot agreement and everything is in place, how much more time until they start putting things in?
So at that point, what the developer would need to do is seek the permit from the Department of Environmental Protection for the reuse of the landfill. That I hear can take around 6 months, and the developer will also be putting together their actual plans. So they'll seek a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals, as well as site plan approval from the Planning Board. So those approval processes, I would say, typically take around 2 to 3 months, but it will depend on, I guess, how the boards respond and how the public responds to the project at that time.
And Eric, when we go out for RFP, are we talking exclusively to the landfill, or we are going to stick exclusively with the landfill at this point? Okay.
At this point.
Yep. I'd imagine trying to open it up to something larger would just extend the timeline significantly,
Right,
so.
it would.
Which doesn't necessarily mean we can't pursue something
In-
like that.
In the future?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So you'll keep us apprised of the status and then look to engage us when it's coming into this kind of developer selection process.
Yep.
Like we've already come up with some of the questions that we'd want to ask them, and I know the RFPs are usually pretty exhaustive. So we might get a lot from that as well, but I think it would be helpful to have it be an open forum where they can come and present and give people from the community an opportunity, if they so choose, to attend and hear what they have to say in person.
Absolutely. You know, my sense is that if I were to anticipate the public response, I anticipate that there will be questions and there will be concerns, which I think will be valid. But also, I imagine that folks will be pretty excited about the idea of the landfill being utilized for this purpose. You know.
Great.
So I would anticipate, you know, by this timeline, if all should go well, that we'll hopefully be engaging the committee in this, in the mid-fall. If the committee is interested, once we have a draft RFP, I'd be happy to share. You know, or we could try to discuss maybe the components of it and I don't know how deep the committee would want it to get into that. So.
I'd be interested to see it. I don't know how much, at least personally, that I'll have to offer to the development.
I was thinking the same thing.
But I think for us, it would be helpful to see it, especially if you're leveraging RFPs that have been developed for similar projects. And then that can give us some thoughts prior to them coming in.
Right.
Yeah.
And then perhaps we can do our field trip in the fall.
Right.
And it's a little bit closer. I know we had talked about that and we put it on hold, but I think it would be helpful for those who can, we can go out and see the site.
Neat.
Maybe a little bit closer to when we know that we'll have some of the individuals coming in.
Right. That sounds good.
Great.
Sure.
All right, our next agenda item, the wind turbine feasibility study.
So, I believe at the last meeting or the meeting before,
Meeting before.
I may have already given this update, in which case it wouldn't be much of an update.
You were waiting.
We were waiting. Yeah, our consultant SED has selected a sub-consultant who will be performing the acoustic study. The consultant name is Atlantic Design, and I guess the best time to perform an acoustic study is in the winter when all the leaves are down from the trees, because then
That
they
makes
can really
sense.
get a sense of how the sound would travel, how the sound would impact. You know, in the summer, the leaves would dampen any
Right.
noise from
Of course.
the blades of the wind turbine. So what needs to happen now that we have our leaves back is that the Clean Energy Center, which is a Massachusetts agency that is funding this entire project, they need to review the procedure of the acoustic study to ensure that the way they're compensating for the leaves is consistent with, you know, their requirements. So there was another question as to the originally proposed technology for the turbine is no longer available. So there was a question as to whether the business study would be possible, and the consultant has found a similar technology to base the business study on. I don't know which turbine it is. I haven't heard that yet. So essentially, it looks like the components are in order for this to be wrapped up, but I don't have a sense of of when the acoustic study will be finished, or will be conducted, and when this business study will be finalized. I've been reaching out to SED and haven't been 100% satisfied with the response level. I think the state is starting to get to their end as well. So I just received an email at the end of the week last week from our correspondent at the state, and it seems like she's wanting to really see this move forward. So we'll see if maybe a little pressure from CEC can help as well.
So, and I know we've talked about this before, and obviously I think we want to take it to this place, but is there, for kind of the lost opportunity cost of the amount of time and energy people are spending working on this? And I'm not certain as far as how the contract works with SED. I know there were some payments made, and then there's this additional piece to it. I don't have a lot of visibility into what exactly that is. I just wonder if at what point does, and not knowing if there's contracts set up, can we say, I think we're comfortable sunsetting this project without all of the information that we'd like.
Right.
I know that's probably premature at this point, but, I've been on the committee 2 years, and I just haven't seen anything on it.
Right.
So, my time is nominal as to the commitment to this project, not compared to, I'm sure, yours or Clean Energy or anybody else. So, so just something for us to, or for you to think about. I don't know if that's even something that's feasible, so.
As one that's been on a committee since the beginning, it seems to me that by the time we get the final report, they ain't gonna be making no more wind turbines. I mean, we're developing, the best 8-track stereotype around where, everything now is DVDs and CDs. It's just, I just look upon this now as a lost opportunity. I mean, a lot of time and effort put in previously, but you can only put your head against the wall for so long. You ain't gonna move it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already changed. The last time we heard from, well, we're not really involved with wind turbines anymore, but if you want one, we can find you one someplace. Well, we're looking for a used car 2010 where, the dealer's gonna search the state. I just feel we got, nothing going there. Granted, it didn't cost, we had grants and everything. They were more than willing to take the grant money, but where's show me the result. I haven't seen anything. If this was a private thing, you'd have them in small claims court or whatever for breach of promise.
Right. Yeah, I would have to look into that. I had spoken to Julie over the winter about, what, kind of asking her, what are we going to do with this? It seems like we're having trouble getting SED to move, and she just continued to express her desire to see this through to completion.
You want to see, you've got all this thing, you want to see a report, whether good, bad, or indifferent, you want to see it wrapped up.
Exactly. So that was my last input from her.
Well, hopefully we'll hear something soon and can at least have a little information to go on. So great, keep us posted.
Sure.
And our last official agenda item, the municipal aggregation update.
So I just wanted to let the committee know that we began conversations with Colonial Power Group last week regarding, our rates going forward in January of next year, we're seeing, it seems like rates are, for electricity in general, are dropping. You probably all saw that National Grid's, their summer rate went to, I believe, 8.5 cents. So they're, you know, a penny below the fixed rate that we have with Colonial Power. And we are wondering if now is a good time to start looking at rates and lock something in on the low side, so that when January comes around and our, you know, I'll say that at the fixed rate that we have now with Colonial Power Group is good through December. So maybe now is a good time to get something in going forward. A part of the conversation is that the town buildings themselves, not the school side, but the municipal buildings, are under contract for supply with Constellation. And so one of the options that we asked Colonial to do is to approach Constellation, who is our supplier for the aggregation, and just ask, is there a way we could consolidate the town buildings in with the aggregation? And if so, what type of rate could we get? You know, so that's one of the options that we're talking about, and then we are of course going to look to hear from other suppliers as well. And so that's the update I have there. The rate conversation has begun.
Do you think perhaps after that process where you've kind of locked that down and they have a plan, perhaps we could get Brian back out here, maybe early fall, and just kind of give some perspective on how he sees for the next year, and just any feedback that he's received from anyone in the town, obviously with, you know, timing is everything, with the National Grid rate being slightly lower, just if they got any phone calls from townspeople, and just what his thoughts are for how that'll play out in 2017. Probably not, I'd say, until the fall maybe, but I think it might be helpful to have him come back out.
Sure.
And we have kind of recurring staff updates, Eric, I think. Is there anything other than all the other items that we just went over?
I know. It's probably a little dry just hearing me talk over and over. I apologize for that. On the staff side, I just wanted to let the committee know that I was working with the fire chief and with National Grid, and we were able to secure 0% financing to convert the LED, the lights at the fire station headquarters on Auburn Street to LED. There isn't a decision made, but National Grid will finance these types of projects through on-bill payment system at 0%.
That's
So,
pretty good.
yeah, it's really neat. The after incentives, the project cost is about $12,500 to convert all the lights. The estimated annual savings is around $2,500.
Nice.
It's like
Wow.
a 5-year,
Yeah.
just under a 5-year payback. And the reduction in kilowatt hours would be 14,000 per year. And that's, you know, about the equivalent of taking 2 cars off the road.
That's awesome.
For swapping light bulbs. It's really neat. And I'll throw this piece of information out too, which is kind of cool. The monthly savings on average are estimated to be around $207 a month, and the payments for the financing would be like 270.
Mhm.
So it's about, like a $60 a month payment to
Mhm.
basically to convert our lights to more efficient lighting, and then after 5 years,
After it's paid off.
yeah, and then it's all savings from there.
Great.
So that's really neat. I'm excited about that. And we'll be meeting, the chief and I will be meeting with Julie and with the CFO, town CFO, to discuss the option and whether the town will proceed with that. I guess the only, Jeff and I are in conversations with DEP and with National Grid to talk about the efficiency of our sewer pump stations. And there may be some incentive programs between National Grid and the Department of Environmental Protection to maybe incentivize some efficiency projects. So we're going to be talking with them tomorrow. Jeff and I will be. So I'll keep you posted on that, but it's just, another energy-related thing that's kind of happening on the town side. And then, exciting news, is that Maureen and I, who participated on our Energy Fair planning group last year, we're going to be meeting with representatives from Sutton and Millbury this Wednesday to
Awesome.
have a preliminary discussion to plan our energy fair for this fall. I believe we had discussed that the fair will likely be held in the Auburn High School this year, and so we'll be excited to host that. And if any of the other committee members are interested in participating or joining, on the energy fair, we'll have more information in future meetings, but we'd love to extend that invitation.
Awesome.
Mhm.
And I believe we already have kind of cursory commitment that Grafton would like to participate. So, which is very exciting.
Mhm.
So,
We'll expand our town involvement.
Yes.
And yeah.
we were very specific picking out the logos and all the branding last year to give us the opportunity
That's
should
awesome.
other
With
towns,
those.
so we
Mhm.
can keep the same kind of logo and, so yeah, we'll definitely report back. It was a great event and we're really excited to do it again. We think, doing it in Auburn will, just location-wise with the mall and where it is, could really kind of increase the participation, so
Mhm.
there will definitely be more to come on that. All right, great.
So those are my updates. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Leave us in suspense.
No. It just seems like it's probably better for the next agenda.
Okay. Do we have any public comments?
Yes, no. Yeah, Mike Rogers. Should I go? That's set up, right?
I
No,
don't
it's not, huh?
believe it is. I think you could probably speak from there, Mark.
Okay, Mark Mel, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 4. I'm concerned about those little streetlights you want to put in. I'd like to see a white one. And what would be the process of someone having in front of their house? A streetlight.
For the LED lights?
Yeah.
So as of right now, as Eric mentioned earlier, we're just in the process now of getting, a town feasibility study on actually installing them.
Yeah, I'd like to see a white. Is that gonna blind people with blue lights?
No, we've actually, and when we had the representative come out and another member from the town come and speak to us specifically on the different, I'm not gonna remember the term. Temperature of them, and that we wanted to make sure that we kind of didn't go towards the blue lights, but use the ones that had the warmer glow to them. So that's something that's definitely been raised as an issue. And I know we put that into, when we started to come up with questions that we would present to the vendors, that was one that we wanted to talk about. What type of lights would they use? What would be the temperature? And one thing I know we had talked about is, prior to even moving forward with it, is putting some up on a street, giving people an opportunity to get a feel for what it's like. The vendor mentioned in Millbury, or in Sutton, the lights are in there, and I think they're a warmer temperature. So,
Right.
so I drove through the other day, but I'm not very observant, so I wouldn't say I had any.
Supposed to be driving too.
But that, I think it's an excellent point, and I think it's something that, we definitely have on our radar, that we want to make sure people are comfortable with the type of lighting that's used, and especially for those where the lights are in close proximity to their homes, and I know even George spoke about like the flicker, dependent upon the different temperatures, so if they are in front of people's homes,
I bought one there.
Yeah.
Paul.
Oh, Mark, you're saying that how could we include more poles?
No, how I press go about if someone want to light a pole on the light on the street, how would they do it? Go through the selectmen, and make a request. Some streets are very dark. Like on Package Street between the school and Kerr's, it's very dark up there.
I wonder if that would be a question for the DPW at this point, or perhaps even National Grid.
Okay.
We'd have to look into that.
Right. And on the landfill, I think you're gonna get a lot of resistance about that, because I was on that committee many years ago, and we wanted to you need money for one thing, but we were gonna put a 9-hole golf course up there, and walking trails, and
Right.
I think you're gonna get some resistance on that. Putting a solar farm. That's it, thank you.
Great,
Thanks,
thank
Mark.
you.
Thank you.
And I would agree with Eric. I think the DPW, just knowing for some stuff that I've had folks do on my street, at least starting with them, and they were extremely responsive, to at least they can take care of it, or they'll let you know where to contact. So.
Right. Yep.
Great. I don't believe we have any correspondence this week. No formal. All right, the last item I have, second to last, minutes. So I have distributed the minutes from the 4:25 meeting. I will hoist myself up on my own petard and say that I found a mistake after I sent them, that it is Miss Sullivan, not Mr. Sullivan. My sincerest apologies for
That's okay,
that.
we're interchangeable, it's fine.
So were there any, I didn't receive any feedback, were there any other updates or edits that were needed?
Don't think so.
All right. Would anyone like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes?
I will, I guess.
Miss Sullivan? Would anyone like to second the motion?
I will.
All right. All in favor? All right. So the minutes from the 4:25 meeting are approved. Our next regular meeting will be Monday, June 27th, 5:30 here at the Auburn School Department, 5 West Street. And other than that, I think those are all of our items we had to go over. Anyone like to entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I shall.
Anyone like to second the motion? Mr. Backus? All right, all in favor? All right, the meeting is adjourned at 6:09 PM.
Good.